soul. Run lads, shoot lads, give us all a go. Run lads, shoot lads, you can do it yet. Come on Newport County, oh, bang it in the net.
Hello everybody, welcome to Taff's Word, and this one is about Newport County, I suppose, but this is mainly about League 2, the division that we're currently in. So I've heard a lot of mutterings from Newport County supporters that this is the worst standard of League 2 that they've ever seen since we've been back in the Football League. And I really can't get to grips with why they're saying that, because for me, and before I even give you any of the stuff that I've got written down here, to fire at you, from the quality of football I've seen from opposition teams this season, for me, it's quite the opposite and is actually the best standard of League 2 that I think we've ever seen. Well, not ever, whilst Newport County have been in the Football League, so that from the 2013-14 season. So this is, I'm sure that makes that 11th, this is the 11th season of League 2 that we've been in. And to be fair to you, as a football coach, I analyse games, and I just do it automatically. I analyse games as they're being played, and I look at individual players, like first touch, movement, what runs they're making, what off-the-ball runs they're making for defensive, offensive, like I say, the first touch and where that's carrying them, where they're playing their passes, and if they're playing it in the right kind of space, movement of attackers, strength of players, pace, stamina. I can analyse a lot of these things, which is why I tend to disagree with a lot of stuff that the run-of-the-mill fan says about a football match, because I see things that other people aren't necessarily looking for. And I don't do it just so I can come on and say, oh, I know better than you. It's not like that at all. I may be completely and utterly wrong, but that's my observation. And I'm noticing these things, and to be fair to you, unless someone can say, no, that's not the right run to make, or no, that's not the right first touch to make, if I was to have this kind of debate with someone, until someone can tell me otherwise, I'm going to assume that, yeah, I'm saying what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is the best League 2, the best standard of League 2 that we've ever seen since we've been back. So I'm going to give you an example of where teams that didn't necessarily strengthen as well as they should have dipped this season. MK Dons last season finished 4th, made it to the playoffs, didn't quite do well obviously in the playoffs, so they didn't get promoted. At the point that I wrote all this down, they were in 18th place. Barrow had a great season last season. Don't think they did an awful lot. A lot of the same players. They've added in bits and pieces. Everybody's added to their squad, but not significantly enough with certain quality. Some of the better players for a lot of these teams are still the better players they had last season. So Barrow finished 8th last season, and at the point I wrote all this down, they were in 16th place. Gillingham, who've actually notably got one of the bigger budgets in the league, finished 12th last season, and when I wrote this down, they were in 19th. You'd have thought they'd have been looking to go higher, but the standard is that much better, they've actually gone lower. Morecambe, although it wasn't a fantastic season for them last year, 15th. For me, for a club the size of Morecambe, if you're not getting relegated from League 2, you're having a reasonable season. Unfortunately for them, well, fortunately for me, because I don't like them, it's a different thing for a different day, they find themselves in a relegation spot right now. But then Carlisle, you look at the teams that come down, right? Only Port Vale, so we're talking about standard of clubs who come, coming from the league above, coming down. Carlisle are bottom, Fleetwood are 12th, and Cheltenham are 15th. That's when I wrote these down. So I wouldn't have thought it's changed awfully much since then. But 3 of the 4 teams that come down are not particularly having great seasons. Then when you look at the teams that come up, Bromley were never going to be a promotion contender. But to be fair to them, they're having a good season, Got to be fair to them, for who they are and for their first season in the Football League. You know, they're having a reasonably good season. Now, Chesterfield come up with a strong squad, and they'd added in certain places, and it put them as the bookies' favourites. They were the bookies' favourites for promotion this season, and when I wrote this down, they were sitting in 10th. Now, to show the standard getting better, I'm going to list out some of the teams that have done a lot better with strengthening their squads and where they are now. So Grimsby were in 21st last season. When I wrote this down, they were in 7th place. Colchester finished 22nd. So Grimsby, Colchester, and obviously the teams that went down, they were the makeup of the relegation battle last year. So Colchester 22nd, sitting in 9th. Obviously, when I wrote this down, it might be different now. Salford finished 20th last season. They find themselves in 11th. Walsall themselves last season finished 11th. And when I wrote this down, they were top. They're not anymore, I know, but they were. They had a great start of the season. AFC Wimbledon had a reasonably good season last year, and they were in 10th. They've strengthened in the right way, and now they find themselves in 5th. It might be different now, but this obviously when I wrote it down. Bradford, if they're not in a promotion hunt, they're not having a good season. So last season wasn't a good season because they finished 9th outside the playoffs. This season they find themselves in the top 3, so they were in 2nd place when I wrote this down. And yeah, there we go. So that's the justification on the fact that the teams that didn't strengthen in the right way have gone backwards. The teams that did strengthen have gone forwards, therefore increasing the the quality in the league. So now I'm going to talk about some of the players that are playing in this league. Now, every single player that I name here is capable of playing League One or Championship football. So Jody Jones, he's fucking ridiculous for this league, as is Dan Crowley. What the hell is a player like him doing in League Two? Oh, there's money. Like I say, League Two budgets have gone up so much. Like I believe Carlisle's is on something like 5 million for the season, when a promotion budget when we first came up was around 2 million. And I know that for a fact. 2 million was a promotion budget. I believe that was what Chesterfield won the league with. I think it was 2.1 million that season. That was our first season, and they won the league. They got promoted, and yeah, that was their budget. And now there's budgets of 5 million for clubs who are at the bottom of the league. It's mental. You know, the average in League Two is about 3.5 to 4 million. Newport County's is around between 1.4 and 1.6, so go figure. Jody Jones, like I said, what is he doing? Dan Crowley, what is he doing? George Byers, what a top player. Ben Woodburn, 16-year-old game winner for Wales. You know, looking like he was going to break through the first team at Liverpool, playing in League Two for freaking Salford. Alex Gilby, you know, obviously we know Alex Gilby well. He is a nailed-on League One player. League One, and could have made Championship if he'd really knuckled down. David McGoldrick, I know he's older. He's still too good for League Two. Far, far too good for League Two. Cole. Now, I'm going to name the next 3. So Cole Stockton, Salford. Jaden Stockley, Port Vale. Will Grigg, Chesterfield. When I've seen them play against Newport County, all of them in every game, except Will Grigg, in the second game that we played against Chesterfield, because I don't think he was in the squad at all, came off the bench. Now, these players are prolific goal scorers from League One to Championship level. Like Cole Stockton, prolific for Morecambe, pretty much kept them up for one season, just didn't have the firepower to keep them up for a second one. But they nearly stayed up. They weren't far away from it. But his goals, but he's coming off the bench in League Two. Jaden Stockley, and I remember him for Exeter. He was unplayable in this division. He was good in League One, got to the Championship, and somehow finds himself back in League Two, coming off the bench for Port Vale, with their mammoth frigging budget that they've got as well. And Will Grigg, if you remember, if any of you've seen that Sunderland documentary on Netflix, he was the one that they pinned their hopes on to get back into the Championship. He was going to fire them back into the Championship, and he was coming off the bench in League Two. How does that happen? And then we'll go with a few others, like Danny Mayer. Like, I remember Danny Mayer being completely unplayable for Plymouth in this division. He may be a bit older now, but he's still too good for this division. Ryan Broom, far, far too good. Proved that when he was at Chesterfield and was the best player in League Two that season. And then moved on to Peterborough. Hasn't quite made it with Peterborough, but we've bounced around different clubs in League One on loan, just so they could get the money back for his wages. But he's a League One player, make no mistake about it. And I thought could have been a contender for a Wales call-up at some point. And then you look at Luke Molyneux, what a fantastic winger for Doncaster he is. Danny Johnson as well. I don't know, Alessandro, is it Jetta or Jetta? Yeah. All I know is that when I see him pop up all the bloody time. Now, I've just span off just a handful of players in this division. There's probably a damn sight more that are far, far too good to play in this division who are playing here. League Two, make no mistake about it, for me, is the best standard of League Two that I've ever seen. Now, I might get shot down for this and I don't care. I can only say what I've seen, and I've seen the bottom two come to our place and they were good. As a team, they played well. I've seen many teams come here and play really well. Port Vale were outstanding. Notts County were absolutely outstanding when they came here. Chesterfield were decent. Wimbledon were decent. I mean, of all the teams I've seen, Grimsby were good. I mean, I've seen some fantastic teams come here. I mean, Salford we beat 3-1, but they were still very good. MK Dons we beat 6-3. But as an attacking force, they were very good. We had to defend very, very well, and they still got 3 goals. And to be honest with you, the 6 goals may have flattered us that day, but we still played really well. But it's like Doncaster, we beat 3-1, and they were great. Accrington, we beat them 3-1, but they could have beaten us on another day, and we went and lost 5-0 there, and they may still go down. I'm sorry, but I've seen so many good teams this year. The only team I can really say who didn't impress me in any of the 2 games that we played against them was Harrogate. So I thought, like Gillingham, we won 2-0 at Gillingham. We beat them 3-1 here, but they were still a good team and they were very difficult to stop. You know, we really had to defend. Our defending, we've needed to defend really, really hard this season. And there's certain things like, you know, a bit of magic from the likes of Adjiboy or Bobby Camwa or Carl Hudlin, you know, as basically stopped us from being, you know, at risk of relegation. I think there's a lot of ways we can find ourselves fortunate this season because of the standard is that good. I think as far as, you know, a good standard of teams going down, if Carlisle and Morecambe are the 2 teams that go down, they'll, for me, go down as 2 of the better teams that I've ever seen get relegated. It's, I mean, for me, it's pretty indisputable. I'm absolutely certain, for me, this is the best standard of League Two. I think I've given enough to justify it, rather than our fan base just backing up their negativity, you know, with, it's a good job, this is the worst League Two we've ever been in. No, it's the best League Two we've ever been in. Yes, you're quite right. In many ways, to not get caught up in a relegation scrap, we have been rather fortunate because a lot of our performances have been pretty substandard this season. But the fact is, we've had enough quality there to pull us away from it, you know, to win and play big when we've really needed to. But no, I mean, look at the capitulation of Walsall, because the teams around them are so good. You know, they went on this mad winning run. They've only really lost that one player. They lost that one lone player. And it just goes to show that, you know, everybody's human. But the quality of player in League Two is beyond what I've ever seen before. Even better than, you know, obviously last season, you know, we saw, you know, some really good teams last season, obviously with Wrexham and Mansfield and Stockport and Crawley going up the way they did. But for me, League Two was even better this year than last year. And I believe football continues to evolve. The standard improves all the time. And if, you know, whether it's not so much the standard of technique and skill, but it's a standard of fitness and physical ability, you know, athleticism. You know, the game has evolved from, you know, like the kind of thing you could play when you're hungover, or you could play after having a couple of pints, or you could be a smoker and have a couple of cigs before the game, you know, and you could just go on, and the amount of running you'd have to do wouldn't be as much as it is now. You know, the amount of physicality, you know, maybe not so much the physicality side, you know, the use of strength, but you know, certainly, you know, your bit, you know, like your core strength, you know, your ability to hold your own, you know, your ability to jump, leap in the air, and still be able to compose yourself enough to place your head where you need to place it. I mean, I could rattle on all fucking day about this, you know, but what do you guys think? I certainly like to see what kind of comments this one brings up, but over to you. Thanks for watching, and as always, up the Katie. Cheerio.